Well, I often get asked about the whole ancient astronaut topic and sort of, why do people believe this? Why shouldn't they believe this? Why should we, Mike, why should we listen to you and think that you're giving us any better information than the Ancient Aliens show or Eric von Daniken or Zecharia Sitchin or whatnot? There's a number of ways that I sort of look at that and would challenge people to think about what they're doing. One would be just the use of evidence. What I find in a lot of these sorts of books, and the television show would be the same sort of thing, is that you'll be shown something or you will be told something, and there's really very little context given, and there's really very little direction that people give their listeners, their audience, to sort of check up on them. I think you as a listener, someone who's sort of imbibing on this information, getting into this topic, you really need to start thinking clearly about what can or cannot be said about a piece of evidence. For example, when I say about the works of Zecharia Sitchin, look, there are these deities in Sumerian mythology called the Anunnaki. There is this word called Nibiru. But when I say that there isn't a single text that connects them, there isn't a single text that has Nibiru as a planet beyond Pluto. In fact, one of the texts that does mention Nibiru does not have it coming into our solar system every 3,600 years, but in fact every year it's something that's observed. When I say things like this, I try to give people the resources, the information that they can check up on that, because that is the truth. That is the factual reality of the situation. You need to pause and think about that and check up on me or the work of others. And when it hits you that, there really isn't a text that says this, I know it's tempting to want to persist and continue to believe in this idea that you find attractive, but it's not honest, and you're not being honest to yourself. You need to really look at evidence for what it says and go with that and sort of recalibrate and move off and try to think better about things. So that's what I try to do, and many others in the field try to do that too. Do not become enslaved to an authority figure. They should always be willing to direct you to information so that you can do the work and you can check on them. If they don't, you should be suspicious. Again, this is just something that as a professor, as a scholar, I try to get my students to consider and think about, because let's face it, how many of us are really into this kind of stuff? Ancient languages, how many people do that? You get somebody who comes along like Zecharia Sitchin and starts spouting things about Sumerian and Akkadian and Hebrew and whatnot. How many people really have the ability to check up on them? Well, the answer is not many. And it just sounds like a horrible amount of work to gain that knowledge so that you can evaluate what they say. And I understand that. But you should not let that allow you to check your brain in at the door. You should ask that source, that person, hey, where can I look? What can I do? What can I access to try to test what you're saying? And if they're not giving you that access, if they're not giving you that direction, you ought to be suspicious. You ought not to dispense other ideas in favor of theirs if they will not do that service for you. And I would say that regardless, even if it's somebody on the other side, they need to direct you to information. They ought to have that much respect for you as a person, as an intellectual being, as somebody who has something going on upstairs that you would want to and would be willing to put the time into checking up on them. The other thing I would add to this is I have found that a lot of people are attracted to the ancient astronaut idea because they're dissatisfied with what it is replacing, either traditional theism, belief in a God, Christianity. They may have been burned by someone who believes in God. They may have been mistreated by someone who claims to be a Christian. They may have had some personal pain that turns them against, again, what we traditionally think of as belief in God or Christianity or Judaism or something like that, something more mainstream. That's understandable on one level. But on another level, I can say this again as an academic, as a scholar. A lot of those situations really involve having God and what He's doing and the Christian life or Christian belief, Christianity itself, poorly parsed for you. You need to also take it upon yourself before you reject something like a belief in God, that God could actually have some control over the tragic circumstances of life, that there could be a real purpose to it, that God is actually going to take that and turn something good for it. Even the idea that God was somehow responsible is something I would reject in many cases, but you'll often hear that, as though God is mean or vindictive or needs evil to get something else done. If I were taught those things, I would be in the same boat. I would want to reject that. But you need to take it upon yourself to start to find out, well, is this really the only way that the God of the Bible or the Christian faith can be parsed? I mean, do other people parse it a different way? Maybe that will help you deal with your pain or whatever point of dissatisfaction you have with this. But in any case, it's not a good solution to either a problem of pain or some other feature of discontent for you to not do the legwork and then substitute something else, like an ancient astronaut belief, that is demonstrably false. It's not going to help you. It's not going to take away pain. It's not going to give you intellectual satisfaction. It will force you to sort of protect it. And if it's true, it shouldn't need protecting.